Okay, now we are finally on the last video. We are going to cover units 9 and 10 in this video. Let's go ahead and do the listening activity. All right, here we go.
Unit 9, Test. Section A, Listening.
Hey, George, do you have a minute?
Sure, Ed. What's up?
Well, Rita and I have been talking about getting a new car.
That's great.
And since you know so much about cars, I was wondering if you could tell me more about hybrid cars.
Sure, I love mine. It's so much more energy efficient than a regular car.
So, a hybrid uses electricity and gas?
Well, a hybrid uses two different sources of power. In most hybrids, both electricity and gasoline power the car. The car runs with an electric motor and a gas engine, but the engine is smaller, and it uses a lot less gasoline than a standard car. Car companies are also making other kinds of hybrids, like diesel-electric cars, but most are gas-electric hybrids.
Why don't they just make completely electric cars? They'd be more efficient, right?
Well, electric cars are definitely energy efficient, but to be practical, a car needs to go about 300 miles before refueling. And you'd have to recharge an all-electric car every 50 or 100 miles. It takes too long and is inconvenient. A hybrid has batteries that charge themselves with the energy the car produces on its own. And it still cuts down on the gas you use, which means less air pollution.
Well, that's the main reason the kids want to get rid of our old car. They've learned that pollution from oil products like gasoline damages the environment and causes global warming. And we've started teaching them how to protect the environment and take responsibility. So, the next thing you know, the kids are telling me that we have to replace our old car.
Well, your kids are right, Ed. Since your car is so old, it uses a lot of gas, which is bad for the environment. Pollution from standard cars gets into the atmosphere and comes down as acid rain.
So, driving a hybrid is better for the environment.
Absolutely. Every little thing helps. And did you know the government gives you a tax credit for buying a hybrid?
So it's even good for our wallets.
Okay. So let's look at the first section. First of all, who is talking? Who is talking in this conversation? Okay, so we can say Ed and George are talking. Ed and George are talking. Okay, and what are they talking about? Okay, so we can say they are talking about a new car. They are talking about a new car. And then number 2, why does Ed talk to George? Okay, so we can say Ed talks to George because George knows a lot. Especially George knows a lot about hybrid cars. Okay, so number 1, or the next section, number 1, what kind of car does George suggest? Okay, so you can say a hybrid, or if you make a sentence, you can say George suggests a hybrid. And then number 2, what is a hybrid? So you can say a hybrid is a mix between an electric and standard car. A mix between an electric and a standard car. Okay? And then number 3, what powers the car? So we can say electricity and gas powers, or actually power the car, since there are two things. So electricity and gas power the car. And then number 4, how are the batteries charged? Okay, and we can say the batteries are charged by energy the car produces on its own. So the batteries are charged by or with energy that the car produces on its own. And then number 5, what does it reduce? And we can say it reduces the amount of gas used and air pollution. It reduces the amount of gas used and air pollution. Okay, and then well, you could also say it reduces gasoline usage and air pollution. Okay, and number 6, why is gasoline bad? Okay, and we can say gasoline is bad because it damages the environment and causes global warming. Okay, so gasoline is bad because it damages the environment and causes global warming. Number 7, where does acid rain come from? Okay, so we can say acid rain comes from pollution in the atmosphere. Okay, acid rain comes from pollution in the atmosphere. And finally, how does the government help if you get a hybrid car? So we can say the government gives a tax credit. Okay, the government gives a tax credit. Okay, so let's move on to the grammar exercise. Let me zoom in here. Okay, so it says complete the sentences. Use the present unreal conditional. So again, if you need to refresh your memory, you can go back and check your book. Okay, so pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so for present unreal conditionals, in the if clause, we need to use past tense. So if more people took public transportation, we would cut down on air pollution. So in the main clause, we need to include the modal would. Okay, so we would cut down on air pollution. Number 2, we would save energy if we turned down the air conditioning. Okay, so again, we have to use past tense, turned down in the if clause and would in the main clause. And then number 3, if we put enough air in the tires, we would save gas. So the past tense of put is also put. And then number 4, there would be, oh, this one, there's no key here, but no parentheses. But anyway, so hopefully you got this right. There would be less trash if everyone recycled. Oops. Okay, and then number 5. If we closed off unused rooms, we would reduce air conditioning and heating use. Okay? And again, use is a noun here, so we have to say use, not use. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the next grammar section. So combine the sentences and use connectors in parentheses. So go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so I went ahead and wrote the answers. So let's take a look at number 1. There has been a drought, so there are fewer crops this season. Okay, so when we use so, we can use a comma here, since there are 2 separate sentences. Okay, connected by so. All right. Number 2, since air pollution is trapping the sun's heat, the atmosphere is warming up. Okay, so when we use since at the beginning of the sentence, we have to use a comma. But if since comes in the middle, or if the since clause is in the back of the sentence, you don't need a comma. So I actually forgot to include that form as well. But you can see it here. I included it here. So we'll just keep going. Global warming changes weather. Therefore, hurricanes are stronger and more dangerous. So you can see that I used a semicolon and then therefore and then a comma. But you can also put a period here and then start a new sentence and of course capitalize therefore, and of course you still need the comma. Okay, and then number 4, because there are new laws, comma, we may be forced to change our routines. And of course you can consider the same rule as since, and you can say we may be forced to change our routines because there are new laws. So in that case you don't need to use a comma. And then number 5, since I have learned more about the environment, I have become more responsible. or I have become more responsible since I have learned more about the environment. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the reading section. So you can pause the video here to read the article. And then you can go or pause the video here to answer the questions. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to give you time to do this. You can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so I wrote the answers here. So let's take a look at number 1. What is one way that many cities have dealt with rush hour traffic? So you can say many cities have created HOV lanes to deal with rush hour traffic. Okay, or you could say many cities have dealt with rush hour traffic by creating HOV lanes. And then number 2, what is an HOV lane? An HOV lane is a lane which drivers can enter if they have 2 or more people in their cars. Okay, or you can also use that here. An HOV lane is a lane that drivers can enter if they have 2 or more people in their cars. Number 3, what is a carpool slug? A carpool slug is someone who commutes to work by carpooling with strangers. Okay, and then number 4, I didn't write it because I can just show you in the article, but what are 2 benefits of carpool slugging? So you can see the benefits here, so you can include 2. You could say slugs save up to $12 in transportation fares and parking fees. That's one benefit. Another benefit is drivers save up to $5,000 a year in gas. And if you want, you can include the third benefit. Both drivers and slugs save from 30 to 60 minutes of travel time daily. And then finally, what has started to happen between carpool slugs and drivers? They have become a community, or you can say they have become friends. Or they have started to become a community, or they have started to become friends. Okay? Now, of course, the writing section you can do on your own. So pause the video here and work on this. But we are going to go ahead and move on to our final unit, free time. Yay! So after this unit, you will have free time. After you take the test, you will have free time for just 2 weeks until the new semester starts. So please register if you haven't, or when the registration time comes. And I hope to see you in person soon. Okay, so let's take a look at the audio.
Unit 10, Test. Section A, Listening.
Sarah, did I tell you my cousin Marie is getting married next month? In France? Her fiancé is from France.
Really? Are you going?
No, I wish I could go, but the trip is too far and too expensive. But Marie told me all about it. Weddings in France are a big deal, and sometimes they last for 2 days. And her family is planning a very special celebration.
It sounds exciting. What are they planning?
Well, Marie said her wedding ceremony will start on a Saturday afternoon at a small church. Only family and close friends are invited. The ceremony will last about an hour. Then, after the ceremony, all her fiancé's neighbors and acquaintances are invited to a reception in the courtyard of the church.
Wow, Elena. How many people will be there?
Lots of people. The reception will last about 2 hours, and they'll serve champagne and snacks.
Oh, that sounds fun.
But Sarah, that's not all. After the reception, the family and close friends are going to go to a castle for a 5-course meal.
A 5-course meal of French food sounds delicious. I absolutely love French food.
And after the meal, the dancing begins.
Elena, if I ate a 5-course meal, I'd never be able to dance.
Well, it's not uncommon for the French to celebrate all day. The dancing will probably continue until very late. And afterward, the family will spend the night at the castle.
Oh my gosh!
Then, finally, the next day, in the late morning or early afternoon, the friends will come back to the castle and join the family for another meal. Oh, I really wish I could go.
I wish you could go too. All of those activities sound exhausting, but so exciting. If I were you, I'd find a way to go.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the questions. So, what are they talking about? Or again, who are the speakers? Who are the speakers? Or who is talking? Okay, so we can say Sarah and Elena are talking. Okay, and what are they talking about? We can say they are talking about a wedding. And then what is the speaker's relationship? We can say they are friends. Okay, let me ask another question. Whose wedding are they talking about? Whose wedding are they talking about? Okay, so you can say they are talking about Sarah's cousin's wedding, or you can say they are talking about Marie's wedding. Marie is the name of, I'm sorry, not Sarah, Elena's cousin's wedding. They are talking about Elena's cousin's wedding. Or you can say they are talking about Marie's wedding, and Marie is Elena's cousin. Okay, let's look at the second section. I hope you were able to try to make questions as well. I forgot to mention that, but if you haven't, you can pause the video here and practice making questions for each of these categories. Okay, but let's go ahead and continue. So we can ask, where is the wedding? Or where is the event? Or where is the location of the event? Okay, and the short answer is France, but we can say the wedding is in France, or the wedding will be in France. And then number 2, what is the fiancé's country? Or where is the fiancé's country? Or where is Marie's fiancé's country? And of course, it's the same country, so we can say her fiancé's country is France. Number 3, what is the day of the event? Okay, what is the day of the event or of the wedding? So we can say the day of the wedding is Saturday, or we can say it is on Saturday. And then number 4, we can ask which guests will be at the ceremony, or we can ask what guests, which guests, what guests, or we can just say who will be at the ceremony, who will be at the ceremony. So we can say family and close friends will be at the ceremony. Okay, and then number 5, what items will be served at the reception? What items will be served at the reception? So we can say a 5-course meal, or I'm sorry, champagne and snacks will be served at the reception. Champagne and snacks will be served at the reception. And then number 6, what event will take place at the castle? What event will take place at the castle? So we can say a 5-course meal and dancing will take place at the castle. A 5-course meal and dancing will take place at the castle. So you could also say what events will take place, since there are most likely more than there's most likely more than one event. When you ask, you know that, so you can just use plural. And then number 7, where will they spend the night? Where will they spend the night? And we can say they will spend the night at the castle. And then number 8, when will the event end? When will the event end? And we can say the event will end the next day, or the event will end on Sunday, since it begins on Saturday. Okay. All right. So let's look at the grammar lesson. Okay. Grammar activity. Complete the sentences. Use the future real or future unreal conditional forms of the verbs. Okay. I think it goes to, here. So let me make it a little bit smaller. Oh, that's a little bit too small. Still, it's a little bit too big in that case. Okay, here we go. I think you can see that now, right? So you can pause the video and continue when you are finished. Okay, so if you remember, future real and future unreal conditionals also use the past tense in the if clause and the modal would in the main clause. Okay, so let's look at number 1. I'm looking forward to the party tonight. I am too. If everyone came, we would have a lot of fun. And then number 2, I heard that you're taking a trip to China. Do you speak Chinese? No. If we knew, if we knew the language, we would feel more comfortable. Okay, this one already has the word in the past tense. I think that's a mistake, but anyway, if we knew. Okay, and then number 3, what will her family think about the wedding ceremony? If she doesn't follow, okay, so present tense, the cultural traditions, she would disappoint her family. Number 4, what should I wear to the reception? If I were you, remember for the be verbs, we always use were. It doesn't matter what the subject is. Okay, if I were you, I would wear a nice dress. And finally, number 5, will Roberto be invited to the wedding ceremony? If he were an acquaintance, the couple would not invite him, would not invite him, or you could say wouldn't, of course, invite him to the ceremony. Okay, and remember, acquaintance is just a very light, surface level friendship, not very close. So in many customs and traditions, people don't invite acquaintances to the ceremony, but often it's okay for the reception. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the next grammar activity. So use hope or wish and the correct form of the verb or modal. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so if you remember, we use hope if it's possible and wish if it is not possible. So let's see. He hopes he wishes, because it's impossible right now. He wishes he could visit, but he's too busy right now. Okay? And then number 2, they hope the weather will be nice for their picnic next Saturday. Okay? And again, hope is used for a possible situation, so we use will be. And then number 3, she wishes her son would get married. He doesn't seem interested in getting married. So we also use wish if the situation is highly unlikely. And since he's not interested or doesn't seem interested in getting married, we can say she wishes her son would get married. Okay? And then number 4, I hope I can travel to Japan next summer. I'm saving money now for the trip. So this is possible. Okay, and then number 5, we wish we could go on vacation, but we don't have any free time. Okay, so since this is not a possibility at the moment, we use wish and the modal could. Okay, all right, I know we're past the time, but let's look at this final exercise. So read the article and answer the questions. Okay, so again, you can pause the video here. Let me leave it here for a little bit. And you can also pause the video here. And when you play the video again, I'm going to just have the answers ready. So go ahead and complete this activity on your own first. Okay, so let's take a look at the answers. When does the Chinese New Year begin? How long is it celebrated? The Chinese New Year begins with the new moon, the first day of the new year. It is celebrated for 15 days. So as you know, sometimes we call this the Lunar New Year because it's based on the moon phases. So lunar means moon. Okay, and then number 2, what do flowers symbolize? Flowers symbolize wealth and good luck. Number 3, what is done for ancestors during New Year's celebrations? They are remembered and honored during the celebrations. Number 4, how is chicken served during Chinese New Year and why? A chicken is served with all its parts to represent completeness. And number 5, what happens at the end of New Year's celebrations in China? At the end of New Year's celebrations in China, people celebrate at the Lantern Festival. There are parades, dancers, fireworks, and firecrackers. All right, finally, this is our writing activity, so you can pause the video here and do this on your own. But we are done, finally, with the whole book. Yay! So again, just study for the test. Hopefully all of these unit tests helped you to refresh your memory, and hopefully you don't really need to study much more. Okay, so I will see you next time, hopefully in person.